Welcome back to the Hannahcast YouTube channel, and today we're going to be talking about the Writers Guild of America Awards ineligibilities. Alright, now the Writers Guild is going to be a very big precursor this year, since finally they are announcing the nominees before Oscar nominations and announcing the winners before the Oscars. For the past couple years, it's been kind of messy. Last year, both the nominations and the winners were announced after the Oscar nominations and Oscar ceremony in general, and the previous year, the nominees were announced after the Oscar nominees were announced, and the winners were announced before the Oscars, which is very helpful in predicting the Academy Awards, because this could have really helped me, like, with some certain categories. Mainly, like, for example, if I had known that Top Gun Maverick was going to get nominated for Adapted Screenplay at the Oscars, I would have taken that way more seriously, and also, I would have actually considered further that Annette Bening and Jodie Foster would have gotten into lead actress and supporting actress for Nyad had I known that Nyad was going to be nominated for Adapted Screenplay at the Oscars. And you're probably wondering, why would this affect the acting races? Because it shows that the industry is interested in this movie, and you can just see the breadcrumbs. If you could just look out for those kind of breadcrumbs, you can see those kinds of surprises coming. And so why am I here today? Well, it's been announced what films are ineligible for the Writers Guild nominations, or the Writers Guild Awards in general this year. Now, in order to be eligible, your film must be written by members of the Writers Guild of America, or a Writers Guild of America endorsed guild. For example, Anatomy of a Fall was not eligible. The Banshees of Inisherin was also not eligible. Stuff like that is kind of important to know when making your predictions, and I'm seeing right here on Award Expert that many people are trying to predict, you know, The Brutalist, or The Substance, or Sing Sing, or Emilia Perez, or Conclave for the Writers Guild Awards. I'm like, they're probably not eligible. And the reason why I figured that a lot of these films were not going to be eligible was because I went to the Writers Guild of America website, and you can actually find a writer, and you can search up projects to see if they are covered by the Writers Guild of America. And so that kind of gave me a lot of insight, and Matthew Anderson definitely did a lot of research in this as well. What are the films that are ineligible? Well, let's start with original screenplay. We got All We Imagine Is Light, The Brutalist, A Different Man, Dee Dee, Hard Truths, His Three Daughters, I Saw the TV Glow, The Seed of the Sacred Fig, September 5, and The Substance. And I think this does confirm that His Three Daughters is dead for original screenplay. I don't know why I almost said adapted, original screenplay. But His Three Daughters is finished, because at best, that thing would need to show up at like Critics' Choice, and it didn't even do that. And you really think the BAFTAs are going to do it? No. And I figured if this film was going to have any kind of life, it would have to be at the Writers Guild Awards, but it's not eligible. So, like, His Three Daughters is most likely going to go home nominationless at the Oscars. Because, again, even looking at something like, like supporting actress with Natasha Lyonne, again, she would have needed to show up at Critics' Choice, and she didn't do that. And if she were to get, like, Lone SAG nominated, well, that's not really helpful, because in recent years, getting a Lone SAG nomination doesn't really help you that much. In fact, if anything, getting a Lone Critics' Choice nomination is better than getting a Lone SAG nomination. So, yeah, His Three Daughters, officially dead, nominationless. Let's continue. Now, what films are eligible for the original screenplay award at the Writers Guild Awards? Well, I have, in my predictions, Honora, Challengers, A Real Pain, Saturday Night, and Civil War. Now, why do I have Civil War? Well, that is because I'm starting to feel like this film is going to be a lot bigger than we think. It showed up on the 20 film shortlist for visual effects, which, all right, that's one thing, but I don't know if that really translates. We'll have to see. But then it showed up at the Eddie Awards for drama, beating out movies like The Brutalist. Like, wow. And also September 5. The fact that Civil War was able to do that is kind of outstanding for that kind of film. And it makes me think, well, Alex Garland is a member of the Writers Guild of America, and so I feel like Civil War is probably that fifth slot. Like, a lot of people are going to try to say Heretic or Juror Number 2, but the fact that Civil War is doing this well in the industry, I'm kind of thinking that is the number 5 slot at the Writers Guild Awards. Now, what do I have below that? I have The Apprentice, Juror Number 2, Baby Girl, Blitz, Heretic, Maria, and Janet Planet. Now, again, I'm kind of looking at these and there's not really much of an argument for any of these films, really. Because, like, I don't know if Baby Girl's really going to be taking off that much. Blitz, everyone hates that movie. Or at the very least, they either hate that movie or they've forgotten about that movie. And no one really saw The Apprentice, even though I think there is still a chance it could get nominated, but I don't know how strong that chance is. And plus, again, there's a whole thing about the industry being so scared of touching that film. And then there's also Juror Number 2, which, again, makes sense on paper, but sadly, no one has seen it. Unless Juror Number 2 were to have, like, some big rebound, like, out of nowhere rebound, that's something like, you know, even American Sniper were to have. But even then, American Sniper did get nominated for some Critics' Choice Awards. Now, granted, maybe I shouldn't take that too seriously because they were in the action film categories and the Critics' Choice Awards don't really have that anymore. Yeah, I'm going with Civil War because a lot of people know about that film, it made a lot of money, and it is still generally very well liked among people. The films ineligible for adapted screenplay at the Writers Guild Awards are Conclave, Amelia Perez, I'm Still Here, Inside Out 2, The Outrun, The Room Next Door, Sing Sing, and The Wild Robot. Now, this is for a few reasons. One, The Wild Robot and Inside Out 2, they're not eligible because animated films are not really covered under the Writers Guild of America, which sucks, and I hate that, but that's just the reality of it. So I already knew animated films were going to be out of the question at the Writers Guild Awards. Like, that also explains why movies like the first Inside Out or Toy Story 3 or Up, why they didn't get nominated. And even then, without that, like, you know, the fact that Inside Out 2 and Wild Robot didn't make Critics' Choice, it's like, it's over, it's finished. Because even Up and Toy Story 3 got those nominations for screenplay. So, yeah. But if you're noticing an adapted, a lot of films are missing, mainly Conclave, Amelia Perez, and Sing Sing. That's really bad for this. Like, that's really bad. This poses a big problem for Sing Sing, because if Sing Sing really wants to be this year's Coda, well then, it's gonna have to need Critics' Choice and BAFTA to go off of that. And that's going to be really hard because the Writers Guild Awards, alright, you can see how like it would win at the Writers Guild Awards and then suddenly it would win at BAFTA. Like, alright, the hype kind of caught on. Would the BAFTAs go for Sing Sing? I mean, I don't know. That really is hard to tell. I guess it really depends on if they really like this movie and they want to award it in some big categories. That's going to be really tough to figure out. Because, like, again, this is just not going to be a Coda situation anymore, because Coda at least had Writers Guild hype to back that Best Picture prospect up. Now that means only two films I'm thinking are going to get the Oscar nominations for screenplay, or adapted screenplay, are gonna be represented at the Writers Guild Awards, and that's Nickel Boys and Dune Part 2. And other films I have in contention are A Complete Unknown, Wicked, and Hitman. Outside of this top 5, I have Nosferatu, The Piano Lesson, Queer, Gladiator 2, Night Bitch, Deadpool and Wolverine, and The Fire Inside. This seems like a very locked up adapted screenplay category because really, I don't really know what else could get in. Nickel Boys, I think that might actually win Writers Guild. Like, the way it's, like, I thought it would maybe be Dune Part 2, but given how now it's looking very, very, very likely that Nickel Boys is in Best Picture, and the fact that Dune Part 2 is kind of trailing off a bit, it's still going to get in Best Picture, but right now I'd probably say the Nickel Boys could potentially be above it. Because of that, I feel like Nickel Boys will probably win here. I think people are really underestimating A Complete Unknown in the Writers Guild Awards because this film is kind of creeping up in the Best Picture race, and I've been saying it since they said that it was going to be coming out this year. So the fact that it could definitely get into adapted screenplay here, especially with such like little competition, like watch out for that movie. Also, Wicked, I feel like it's pretty easy to say it could get nominated here. Again, it's a very weak year in the Writers Guild Awards for Adapted Screenplay. I don't think it'll make the Oscar nomination, but I think it'll make the Writers Guild here. Sort of like how Tick, Tick, Boom got nominated, sort of like how West Side Story got nominated, but ultimately at the Oscars, since they're not bound by the Writers Guild rule, then they get, like, they're just gonna find more movies to nominate. And I have Hitman because they do like comedies. Now, I don't think they like comedies enough to where I'd say, oh yeah, a comedy will easily, win over a Best Picture film. Like, for example, like a lot of people are trying to say that Hitman is going to win Writers Guild. I would say no to that, because yes, like, Can You Ever Forgive Me and what was that other film? In 8th Grade, sure, yeah, they won Writers Guild without getting nominated for Best Picture, and yeah, they were comedies. But, however, at least in the expanded Best Picture era, a non-Best Picture nominated film has not beaten a Best Picture nominated film at the Writers Guild Awards since then, or before then, at least within the expanded Best Picture Oscar era. Like Borat 2, sure, yeah, that won Writers Guild for Adapted Screenplay, and that wasn't in Best Picture at the Oscars, but there were also no Best Picture nominees in that category, so it's kind of easy to figure that out. And plus, it did get PGA nominated, so it was at least somewhat close to the Oscar. But yeah, I don't really think Hitman's winning here. Again, I do think there is a world where Dune could win Adapted Screenplay, because it is better than the first. It is fleshing out its characters and story way more than the first film in a very, very fascinating way. And I mean, look at Inception. Inception won Original Screenplay at the Writers Guild Awards, so like, why couldn't Dune? I just think Nickel Boys has a better argument right now because, again, A, it's in Best Picture now, so you can make a better argument for that, and B, it is telling this narrative in a very unique way. And I just don't think the whole, the Writers Guild Awards always go with comedies. I don't think that really is a strong argument when you have multiple Best Picture films in that same category. I want to say maybe Nosferatu could get into the Writers Guild Awards, but I don't know. Because it is doing pretty well with the guilds so far, but I'm not quite there yet on Nosferatu. It's one thing to, like, dominate the craft categories as a horror film, but getting it to Adapted Screenplay, oh my god, again, that would show a level of strength for Nosferatu that I just don't think it has right now. I honestly think right now, my top 5, Nickel Boys, Dune, Complete Unknown, Wicked, Hitman, honestly, I'll probably say I would be shocked if it was anything but this 5. I don't think it'll be the Piano Lesson, because no one really cares about the Piano Lesson. No one's even really nominating the Piano Lesson anywhere. I mean, good God, even Danielle Deadwyler is not getting nominated everywhere. Like the Golden Globes blanked on her, and sure, the Critics' Choice did it, but I don't know if that's going to translate to the Oscars, so it might end up being just kind of a dud in general. So that's why I kind of have Nosferatu above it. Now, these are not final Writers Guild predictions, all right? I'm going to save that for another video, but now I want to pass the question off to you. What do you think of the Writers Guild Awards ineligibilities? How does this affect your Best Picture predictions or screenplay predictions? Let me know in the comments below what you think, and consider hitting that subscribe button, because if you don't, you're not going to be eligible for the Writers Guild Awards.